Good morning y buenos días. Welcome back to another episode of Cafecito y Croquetas, brought to you by Stay Tranquilo and H&Co. Today, we're joined by a repeating friend of the family, friend of Stay Tranquilo,
yes, sir.
Mr. Orlando Mendez, aka the Cuban Cowboy.
What's up, brother? How we doing?
How we
Chilling,
doing?
bro. First time here on Cafecito y Croquetas.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I've been watching this segment for a while now. You guys crush it on this. And of course, my favorite sponsor ever, Johnny Cuba, Stay
Yes,
Tranquilo.
sir.
We got the whole fam here on set represented, bro.
Oh, fam, baby. It's as Miami as it gets.
100%, bro.
You got the Cafecito y Croquetas right there with your friends from
Cow Bakery.
Cow Bakery. We got a little Johnny Cuba, hot sauce and beer. We got our business partners at H&Co, and of course us at Stay Tranquilo. So and let's not forget about our friends over at Yeti. Great people. So here we are. It's a beautiful day. Obviously, we've had you on the Stay Tranquilo pod, but obviously a lot has changed since then, and we really want to kind of highlight, obviously, your story. That's kind of the basis of a lot of these conversations, highlighting the stories of Miami, all the influential, amazing people that walk through Miami, right? So let's bring it back, right? Let's bring it back from the beginning. Tell us about being born, raised in Miami, family Cuban, all that fun stuff. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so born and raised right here in the 305, second generation Cuban-American. My abuelos had, a very honest and very, genuine Cuban story and leaving the island of. That's where their heart was. That's where they had worked, not only them, but generations before to make their lives over in Cuba and then to have everything taken away from them from the Castro regime when they took over. And then, I say it all the time, they were left, like a lot of families, with a choice. They could stay there, but everything they ever worked for would now belong to the state, the government, was no longer theirs. Or they could leave, but they weren't going to leave with much. And they left with hardly anything and made their way, and then found their way to this great city and this great country that took them in. And so, my story is very much like the Cuban-American story, and now just trying to continue carrying that with me,
Absolutely.
As the second generation, as it gets further from, as my abuelos are now passed, and as we get further along the line, just carrying that mantle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's funny, right? Because we, like you mentioned, are the next generation of Cubans, right? Like keeping the traditions alive, keeping the cultural identity alive. And not to say that like we feel like we have to, but I think we're just so passionate about, where we've come from.
Of course.
And you don't really appreciate it until you start getting older and older, right? Our grandfather, all my grandparents are gone, so now it's really like the pass of the baton. And obviously my parents are around and all that, but like, for me, it's like we are that next generation, right? Because they were directly associated with that direction, considering they're their parent. But like, if it's not us, then it dies.
It's gone,
right? Then it's over. So I think for us, it is really about keeping those traditions alive, but like in a more modernized way.
Of course, at the end of the day, we are second generation. We are almost more American than we are Cuban.
100%.
100%. Being born here, being raised here, and this is what we know. But like you said, that culture that runs through our veins, that Cuban blood that's still there, it's our job to carry it on, because if not us, then who?
Exactly.
Our abuelos passing away, our parents now getting older. After that, really, like you said, our parents have that direct lineage. They have those are my parents.
Exactly.
But now we're two generations. It's like now we need to, dig deep and find it and carry it on.
100%. And obviously, I think you've done a great job of doing that.
Thank you.
You're now, your nickname's the Cuban Cowboy,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, and we talk about like that modernization of like, how do we keep it around? And because it is your identity, right? And it's not necessarily straying away from it, but it's actually like owning it as part of your identity. Because I have friends that they're like, they ask like, "Are you cute? Like, where are you from?" Right? And they're like, "I'm American," right? And I'm like, "Okay, yes, you are American. We were all born in America. I'm not saying we're not American, but like, why not label yourself as Cuban American, right? Like, because that's really who you are, right? Because you wouldn't be here in America if it wasn't for the fact that your grandparents left Cuba to find a better life, and owning that is part of your identity. And it's like there was like almost like a stigma around like coming from Cuba, or not like being proud of like being from another country or being connected to another country, right? And reality is, whether you came from Colombia, Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, DR, whatever place, we have that cultural connection to it because it's where our ancestors came from. And they are the ones, like you said, that made the choice to come into Americas for the opportunity and for that better life. So for me, like, we are Cuban American. And then, you being the Cuban Cowboy is like the perfect way to kind of just express that.
Yeah. No, you know what? And you know what, Andre, you said something there. It's like, I also ran from it for a while.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
A lot of people did.
I spent a portion of my life, especially for some reason, man, it was around that like high school age that I just kind of neglected anything like being Cuban. I was like, what I love, I'm American. I love football and I love country music and I love truck,
Yep.
And although I still truly love all of those things and they are part of me, I started digging deep when I started losing my abuelos. I started digging deep as, okay, but there's this whole other side of things that I absolutely love too. And it was all because I love my abuelos. And because I love them, I felt an adopted love for the land that they came from, for my heritage, for my culture. Everybody who's surrounding me, my family, my parents, my brothers, my tias and tios, they all go back to this common thing of like, we are all Cuban.
100%. 100%. And I think for us, like, we lived it, right? So we experienced it. And now it's part of our identity. So tell me a little bit. Obviously, we mentioned Cuban Cowboy. So when was it that you chose to get into that, right? We'll get into kind of your, I guess, path into music, right? But part of that path, I'm sure, is where kind of the inspiration of the Cuban Cowboy came into life.
Yeah, where I found country music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was like, I always try to remember, but the best way I can pin it, I was like in high school, around high school age, and I remember I found the music of Darius Rucker, who I remember being a very familiar voice from my childhood, of course. Like we all have, we had that common theme of every Sunday when the Dolphins lost, that song would bring us right back.
Every single time.
Hootie and the Blowfish. And so that voice just kind of connected. It helped. I had a girlfriend at the time who loved country music as well. So she kind of got me into the genre, found Darius, found his catalog, and then that led me to, Blake Shelton and Dierks Bentley and Billy Currington, all these guys and female artists that were popping off at the time. Fell in love with the genre. I mean, just like took the deep dive and loved it, bro. I mean, the stories, the lyrics, like I said, the lyrics and the melodies, and mostly just the stories it told. Like every song had some sort of meaning. And I've lived my life to storytelling.
100%.
That's what I'm most passionate about. So, dude, just fell in love with the genre, deep dive, and then I found country music kind of in reverse. A lot of people grow up with it, right? And they grow up with like their parents' country, which is the 70s, 80s, 90s country. And then they get, then their own taste comes into it with the modern stuff.
Right.
I found the modern stuff first, those early, 2010,
Me too.
late 2000s, 2010s country, and then had to do my work, and my research to go backwards.
Right.
And start listening to the Johnny Cashes and the George Joneses and the, all these incredible, the Merle Haggards and all these incredible artists that had come before.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny. You bring up Johnny Cash. I remember my grandfather used to listen to Johnny Cash a ton.
Yeah.
Right? Like he loved Johnny Cash. But for me, it never really gravitated.
Right.
Now I love the hell out of
Of
and
course,
appreciate Johnny Cash like crazy. But for me, it was not like, I kind of just heard it like in the background, right?
Yeah.
But it's almost like that subconscious mind is like, you hear it, right? And you're kind of like vibing, but you're not really like, damn, I love this because you're so young, right? Like, so like, if it's not popping or it's not like mainstream, then for you, it's just like, it's whatever, but you're actually kind of drawn to it without even realizing, right? And for me, it was very similar, like country music. My mom was the one that would always just have it on in the car. When like in late middle school, early high school. And that's where I really started to listen to it. And it was, who was it? It was Tim McGraw.
Yeah, the man.
Yeah,
Man.
Tim McGraw is really what got me into country music. And that was the evolution of my like country fanhood, because I mean, it wasn't like generation to generation. It was really around. It was just now like, hey, this is here. I'm listening to it, and you kind of like go through that self-discovery, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. I learned country in reverse. I always like to say that.
And then, so around COVID, right, was when like your music making journey began, right?
Yeah. Before that, I was acting actually.
Okay.
I've like entertained my whole life.
Okay. So
I know-
entertaining's always been in the DNA.
I know for a fact I was born to do this because I've never wanted to do anything else. I've always, my entire life, wanted to just either be on a stage or in front of a microphone or on a camera, just entertaining, and that's where I feel alive.
Right.
And I've known that since I was probably 6, 7 years old. Yeah, 6, 7, 8 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and then, you know, really, like you said, when it kicked off was COVID. I was acting. I was going back and forth between Miami and New York, auditioning after I got out of college for everything, bro. I mean, I did a lot of theater stuff, but also on camera stuff, small commercials and roles and indie films and stuff like that. COVID shut that whole thing down. I was actually in New York when COVID first started popping.
Damn.
And I remember I was over there auditioning for something. I was in the middle of like what I thought was going to be my biggest role ever. It was for an off-Broadway production. And I was in rehearsals one day and things just started getting weird. The news started coming out that it was hitting. And people just, it was like pandemonium. I remember one of those days looking around and the streets were empty. And people were like just staying home and stockpiling stuff.
Yeah, it was like apocalyptic almost.
Yeah, stockpiling stuff. And I remember calling my mom and be like, Mom, I think I got to get out of here. Like, I don't think I need to be here. I was on the next flight out, and literally, like the week after, New York shut down.
I was gonna say because New York was one of like the first places to shut down. So
it was very soon after.
You would have been stuck there.
I'd been stuck, but that would have been bad.
I mean, maybe get in a car or something like that.
Maybe rent a car.
But even then, I don't even know if he would have been able to rent a car.
I don't know. My mom would have found a way to get me out. Let me tell you, if there's anything that a Cuban mom would have found a way to get my ass out for sure, bro. I don't know. I don't care. It would have been a plane, a train, a boat. She would have got my ass out.
Or she would have just drove herself up there and picked you up.
100%, dude.
Driving 20 hours north and I'm driving 20 hours
back.
south.
She wouldn't care, bro.
It's so crazy.
I
That's
got
so true.
Yeah, but I got out and then, like I said, I was at home, like a lot of us, with all the time in the world and nothing to do. And, you know, I looked over to the corner of my room and there was this guitar that I had 2 times in my life tried to pick up. When I was a really young kid, I quit quick.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand my teacher and I didn't like it, and so I quit. And then the second time, I was probably like in high school. Same time I kind of started liking country music, but I liked girls too much too, so I didn't spend enough time. It wasn't a
priority.
Yeah, didn't spend enough time playing, and so I had all this time. I picked up the guitar and taught myself how to play, you know, YouTube. You know, taught myself how to play my favorite country songs, and songwriting has always been something I'm passionate about. Even when I couldn't put chords to it, I would get in a notebook and start writing lyrics, start writing songs. But now I finally had chords and music to put behind it. And that's where, really honestly, bro, that's where all sprung.
It's crazy because COVID was like that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like new identities, I guess, that were built through the process of COVID, because it's like you said, you had so much time.
Yeah.
No one really knew what to do with that time because you've been so occupied and just doing whatever you were doing on a daily basis at that time. And that's what consumed it, right? There was not like the flexibility to just say, hey, I'm going to pick up a guitar and try to learn how to play, right? Or I'm going to pick up a paintbrush and try to start drawing something, right? Like that was not really an option because we get so consumed in the everyday that we don't really have the time to actually think about other things that maybe we might want to try or even attempt to just like immerse ourselves in. And here you are during this time, and it like changed the trajectory of your life, really. Like
100%.
You were saying you were going into acting, you know, you're about to land, you know, kind of like this Broadway role. And for you, obviously you've been in the entertainment space, but reality was like, universe was like, hey, no, we're going a different direction.
Yeah. I've never looked back.
A guitar in your hand.
Yeah, bro, and that's just so special. I've never looked back, and I've never been happier.
Yeah,
I know for a fact, like this is what I want to do in my life, you know. Absolutely. And so it's been game changing. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about kind of like the process of writing those songs, right? And obviously the evolution, right? Because like let's say somebody wants to get into music, right? And doesn't know the first thing. Like, how does that songwriting process look like? Like, how do you go through that, and how do you evolve over the course of time and becoming a better songwriter?
Yeah, no, it's changed a lot for me. You know, it's like anything, you get better at it the more you do it. But, you know, in the beginning, I think there was still something special because it was so raw. You know, it was genuine. It was coming right. It was flowing right out of me. And like one of the first things I wrote was that Motherland song.
Yeah.
And just because I didn't know any better than to just right straight from the heart and straight off the dome.
And before you kind of get into the rest of this, right? You bring up Motherland, right? And I think it's important to mention, right? Like you said, like it was just coming out of you. What was it actually that like you were like, I gotta write this song?
Yeah, I think there was two major kind of moments in my life. The first was right before the pandemic. I was a part of a really influential show here in Miami called Amparo.
Okay.
The Amparo
Yes,
Experience.
absolutely.
I was part of the last part of it. You know, I took over for one of the roles. Yeah, I took over for one of the roles the last month or two of the show.
Damn.
Which was super special, but really connected me to my roots because that show was just so powerful. It told the Cuban-American story in such an incredible way and made you feel like nothing else. Made you feel more connected to Cuba and the story than anything I've ever experienced. So Amparo was definitely big for me. The second thing was I started losing my abuelos around that time. Started losing my grandparents and, you know, just started to understand how big of an impact they had in my life and how much they meant to me. And because of that, I started digging deep into, okay, who were they and who am I because of them? And that's really why I think Motherland came out like it did. It was just that stuff was so fresh on my heart, you know?
Yeah, because I mean, you could have wrote about anything, right? Usually it's a breakup or a celebration maybe, but you went true to the core, which I think is very unique and honestly has paved such a direction for you from a branding standpoint, obviously, but like you as a whole and as a person, right? And it is impressive to say that like that was the song that kind of like drove you into this direction, right? You know, being a Cuban artist in Miami when there's very few to none that make music of this genre, but being able to still bring it back home, right? Which is crazy, right? Because it was literally something that was here. It was fresh in the moment. It was connected to your roots, and then being able to turn that into a song fresh out of a new experience essentially that you were getting into.
100%. And this goes back to the songwriting thing is I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know to write about all these other things or like to make it, to like try to make it perfect. I literally was just coming straight from the heart, straight from the hip. And like those lyrics I wrote, never went back and edited them. You know, a lot of times.
It's fresh.
Now,
raw.
Yeah, raw. Now I go back and I write and I freaking overanalyze and I come back to it. And I'm like, that's trash. And and I overcomplicate it now because now, with time and experience, now I know. And now I'm like aiming for something else. I'm aiming for the next, for a great hit song.
Right.
Then it was just really just telling my story and what I was feeling.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I try to get back to that now. It's harder because I'm a much harder critic now on myself. But back then it was just like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I feel like saying and putting it on the page. I
was about to ask you that. Like, do you ever feel like you'll try to like lean into that more maybe, I don't know if it's like free flowing or, obviously we're always going to be our biggest critic, right? And sometimes it's for the good, but it's also for the bad, right? Because you're kind of putting a cap on what you think, but reality is it's like, it could be anything. And that's really what Motherland was at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I get like I said, I get overly critical now where I try to aim for, let me write something fun. Let me write a hit. Let me try to write a hit, which you never know what's going to be a hit until it's a freaking hit. You know, like
true.
And I'm trying nowadays to really get back to my roots with that free flowing, genuine, just like what's on my heart, what's on my mind, what comes out from my mouth and playing these strings.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, listen, Motherland I know has been a hit for a lot of people here, obviously, especially in Miami. It's a great song, and I think it's been a catalyst, obviously, for you and to where you are today, right? You're here working on a new project, which is a phenomenal project. I know I've seen it from like inception to what it is today, and I think it's perfect timing. But I know you had some obstacles along the way to get it out, but it's out. So tell us a little bit about this new project and kind of like the dynamic and the thought process of this new project that you're working on.
Yeah, so this project now called the Always Summer Six Pack, and you have seen it from inception, like from the very beginning. I probably came up with this concept, I don't know, probably February, March earlier this year. to be honest, I had a tough end of last year, beginning of this year in Nashville. And just really a lot of setbacks and like, what am I, kind of one of those moments in life where you just kind of, look around like, what am I doing? You know, where am I going? What am I doing? What's, one of those crisis, not crisis moments, but just a really, a look in the mirror moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
And so I was on a plane back to Miami from Nashville. And just low, man, just in a low point. And I was sitting on that plane, and all of a sudden I started thinking about, okay, well, what are the things that make me happy? Like, what are the things that I'm escaping Nashville to go do? And it was to be in the sun. It was to be on a boat. It was to be on a beach. To be back to the places that make me feel good, man, that make me feel whole, that make me feel present with life. And so as I started going through and just visualizing all the things that I love, the palm trees, the ocean, all these things, I was like, and summertime. And man, would it be cool to write a bunch of summer sounding songs?
Oh yeah.
And so I came up, it just sprung in my mind, like the Summer Six Pack. 6 songs, all about summer, all coastal vibe, all just like about the things I love the most, man, and just free sounding stuff. And so the second I touched down, I called my friend Chris Daniel and from the Mr. 305 camp. And told him about the concept. Told you about the concept. I don't know how early it was in the process, but I know it was early.
I know it was early because I don't even think a song had even been like recorded yet.
No, I hadn't even gone and written them yet. It was just like concept.
Right.
I told you. I told Chris Daniel. Like I said, I told also Juan.
Yeah.
Our boy.
It fits so perfect with like the beer brand.
Right, with the brand.
Yeah.
And then I remember we had a conversation at some point about the concept and about like what the songs were going to be, even before they were written, what the songs were going to sound like, and what the look for the project was going to be. And so that's how it kind of started.
Yeah.
And so Chris Daniel got on board. I was lucky enough to get Phil Moore, who's also part of Mr. 305 Records, to jump on. We went to the Keys, stayed in a beautiful house in Key Largo, and wrote for 2 days straight. Just wrote and had fun. We drank and we had a good time, and we wrote and did.
But you immerse yourself in that experience to be able to get those like creative, that creative flow going.
Yeah, this was like May at this point. Once this started coming about, we spent two days just writing like I said, in the environment, and we banged out like 4 or 5 songs of the project.
Damn. Just in those 2 days,
in 48 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Completely.
Keys is a special place.
Super special. And we were inspired, man. And it, it doesn't always happen like that. There's a lot of writing camps. And especially Chris Locke, who's the producer of this EP, he said it best. He's like, man, I've been on a lot of these writing camps, and they don't always go like this. Like,
really?
Sometimes it's not 2 days, sometimes 4 or 5 days, and you don't get a quarter of what we did here. And nothing of value. We got like 4 or 5 solid songs. We used every single one of them on the EP.
Wow.
And on top of that, we recorded most of the vocals at that house on a portable mic like this, just straight into a laptop.
Holy cow.
So not only did we write, but we also cut almost all of the vocals, and he produced out a big chunk of the songs right there.
Damn.
In those 2 days.
That's impressive. In 48 hours, like I'm just like going through the process of like a 48-hour period, maybe with like some sleep component in there.
Yeah, barely.
Right? Yeah, very, very little. And just thinking of like, damn, maybe a song, you'd be like, hey, you know what? This is a great song. Maybe 2, but 4. What was it? 5? You said
5.
5 is crazy.
Total, yeah,
5's crazy. So what are these? Like, tell us.
Yeah, so they're all 5.
All summer themed, right? So what are they?
We wrote 5 there, but there's 6 in total because one of them I did write in Nashville. Okay. So we got Modern Day Pirates, which is the first one that came out. And dude, the way I just want to get in for a second, the way this process kind of works.
Right.
So I'm coming up with titles all the time. There's like that's probably the one thing that I'm best at, is just putting titles together in my head. So I had all these, I have a notes, a note on my phone with probably 300, 400, 500 titles, just a scrolling note. And I came with all these concepts. So Modern Day Pirates, Hurt to Hit, Day Drinking Tonight, Built to Last. We have Beers Back Home, and the last one I'm forgetting a goodie too. Saltwater Salvation. Yeah, so I came with all these titles, and then we just started. I would launch them titles to like that one, and we would go with it.
So when you obviously said you had a list of those song titles out, but when you were producing those songs, right, or writing those songs in the Keys house, was it already with the intent of lining up with those names, or were those songs written and then you were kind of like, okay, let me look through my list and see what song name matches these songs that I've written?
No, we started off with the titles, with the song names. Yeah, we started off with the titles.
So the song names played some sort of inspiration into
Right.
That makes sense, because I'm like, okay, I'm assuming like there's got to be a tie into the name, obviously, to be able, or did you just have so many song names that they just happened?
No. We started the reverse order. Yeah,
Okay,
we sat down and then they're okay. Well, what do you got? We all started throwing titles out there. And I think the first one we wrote was Modern Day Pirates, and I wrote I said I got this title called Modern Day Pirates, about just mostly inspired by people down here, like in the Keys, living like modern day pirates. Get up in the morning and get after it, bro. Like those are my favorite kind of people. Like,
100%.
especially in the Keys.
I was gonna say that's Keys living right there,
dude. That song we wrote in like 30 minutes.
What?
Yeah, like in 30 minutes.
That's insane.
It was,
that's impressive.
And I think what really hooked it, I think Fillmore was the one. Like, what about we're Bonnie and Clyde on an island? I was like,
that is
like modern day pirates.
Yep. That is a golden line. Yeah. It's crazy. And then you got Beers Back Home, right? Talk to me about that one. That one I feel like is like fits that summer vibe, but it's also like a testament to like the story that you were just telling, right? Like, what are the things that make me happy? Like, I'm coming back from Nashville, I'm kind of down, and I need to kind of like just feel like, I'm doing all this, right? Which is aligned with my purpose and my passion and all these things, but yeah, here I am, and I'm not feeling fulfilled, right? And it's like, I needed to get back home, right? I needed to find that sunshine. I needed to find the ocean. And Beers Back Home to me is like that moment where you kind of are like experiencing this like in your career, but realizing like Beers Back Home is like what makes you happy.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And I can't believe I didn't say this, but so Beers Back Home kind of proved the concept to me, or it was the initial proof of concept. I wrote that song with Fillmore and Chris months before we even did this writing camp. Actually, I think almost a year before we did the writing camp.
Interesting.
That was when we got together. So Beers Back Home wasn't written on the writing camp. It was written almost a year before. Remember, Chris Daniel called me up. He's like, hey, I want you to come to the studio. I have our country artist on the label. His name's Fillmore. He's going to come through, and he's in town. Like, we're just going to write. And we got there, and, I thought I was going to be writing for Fillmore. And for some reason, it turned out everybody started writing, they were like, no, man, I write for me enough, bro. Let's write for you. And super selfless of him, man. I was like, man, that's awesome. And so we started talking about stuff, and I brought up a conversation very much like that, where like, I'm in Nashville, but my heart's in Miami. My heart's back home with my people. And he started thinking, he was like, no one's ever wrote a song, I don't think, called Beers Back Home. And we started looking through Spotify, and sure enough, no one had come out with something like that yet.
Wow.
And then we wrote it, and it was just like, it just made so much sense to me.
I mean, you think of like the concept of the song, that resonates with anybody.
Yeah, man.
Right? Like, how many times are we kind of pulled out of like our home, right? Or pulled out of our life, whether that's for jobs, relationships, whatever opportunities, right? Like those things. But there's something, or even if like you're a college kid, right? And you're going out of, going out of town for college because you're going to God knows where, and you got to return home for the holidays or whatever it is. There's something about returning back home and just having like that drink with your boys and your family, and just like that moment just hits different.
Of course. And the way I intro it now, like on live shows, it's like this song is all about how when you're around people you love, when you're around your people, how the laughs are just a little harder. The time just goes by a little faster, and the beers just taste a little sweeter. And so
absolutely.
that is the theme of Beers Back Home, and it really, I think, brings the EP to a close. It's the last song on the EP, but it's
nice.
Really just saying this is my feel good, what I'm about. So.
Yeah. So have all 6 been released?
No, not yet. Right? So the other 3, there's been 3 released.
Yeah, 3 released.
Modern Day Pirates, Hurt to Hit,
and Saltwater Salvation.
No, actually, Beers Back Home, and then
I remember, because the whole thing happened with the Saltwater Salvation song.
Saltwater Salvation. Yeah. There's been a lot of ups and downs on this EP, bro. I'm not gonna lie. This thing was supposed to come out.
It was a summer 6-pack, and then it was what? Always summer 6-pack. Yeah.
This thing was supposed to come out during the summer. Like, this is supposed to be August release, while it's still hot and while we're still in the water. But there's been a lot of ups and downs on this. First of all, from funding, and I gotta just say thank you so much to the people who have believed in this project and who decided to jump on board. Johnny Cuba, my friend Juan, and Johnny Cuba being the first. And then from there, John Bell Construction, Cow Bakery, La Letronera.
La Tronera, big time for them.
La Tronera.
With the holidays coming around.
They're incredible. And just jumping on board and believing on it. So funding was a big setback at first. Just it takes money to record. It takes money to get music.
People don't realize that.
Yeah. And more than you think, So that was a thing that pushed it back. Then we also had, when you're dealing with other artists' timelines and record labels and stuff like that, that pushed the Saltwater Salvation got pushed back a lot, and then ultimately pushed the project back a lot.
Right.
So just things we had to deal with, man. And
it's just the nature of the business,
Of course. And I'm learning every day. I do this all by myself, independent. I wear all the hats, which hopefully will change here in the near future.
For sure.
But with that comes like things slip through the cracks, or I'm not able to go to bat sometimes as well as I should, and push for things. And so instead of August, we have a early December release, but we're still getting it out there, man.
But it's always summer.
Always summer.
Always summer. That's all that matters, especially down here.
Always summer down here. And something I love about Stay Tranquilo? Always summer up here, bro.
Oh, yeah. It's always summer up here, baby.
Always summer up here and 100%. Always summer, in your heart.
I mean, like Stay Tranquilo was born off the keys. And just like, like when you, and that's why I love Beers Back Home so much, because like those moments do hit that, right? And those moments provide, this here. Like we need that, right? Like you got to be around your people, got to be around, the just the right places in the sunshine, right? There's a reason why people from the up north come down here when it's freezing cold and the sun's setting at 3-4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think it almost kind of fits the narrative, like it's always summer, because it is always summer down here. Like this is the place to be. And guess what? Yeah, it gets hot. Guess what? We're going to the beach and we're going in the water and we're going in the pool.
Yeah.
Like
it's how we live.
It's how we live down here. And to me, this is like that vibe. Like I can't leave Miami. It's impossible.
Man, it's hard.
It's impossible. And I know you left to Nashville for a little bit, and I could do those type of things where maybe I'd leave for a little bit, but
come back.
You're just gonna somehow always just get pulled right back over here because it's really special.
No, this place is where my heart is, and I pray that I can live and die here, bro, and do my work and make it to a place where I can be down here full time. Yeah, and that's the ultimate goal. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, and this EP more than anything captures that idea of always summer. It doesn't matter where you are. Jimmy Buffett did an incredible job at this. That's why he was such a legend, is because he captured the vibe of always summer. Yeah, and took it to the world.
Margaritaville.
Yeah,
I mean, like
it's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Right here. Like that's like when you talk about a guy like inspiration, that right, like you said, like the parrot head, like kind of like lifestyle. And that Margaritaville was a song, but it really became a lifestyle, right? Everybody wanted to live in Margaritaville or be a part of be in Margaritaville, right? And you then started associating it, with the water and all that. And it's like creating that level of association through a song or through a tagline, whatever that may be. And like you said, he did that, right? Yeah. When you think Margaritaville, like you're just like, I want to just be chilling.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
It's an escape, man.
Yeah.
It's an escape.
So that's next Jimmy Buffett right here. Next.
Oh, man.
Big right here.
Big, like I said, big inspiration of mine. And just, dude, if I can bring even half the peace and happiness that he did to people, then that's.
It is crazy how much music is like that kind of outlet, right? I love music so much. All genres. Country, reggae, hip hop. Maybe a little Creed.
Yeah, man.
It can go anywhere.
I love a little Creed.
It's so crazy, bro. So at my boy's wedding in Colombia, they have like their playlist set for the wedding and all that. And all the not all the grooms. It's like me, the groom, and one of the other groomsmen are all there just kind of talking before like the actual wedding. And I don't know why, but Creed came up in a conversation. And we're all like, yeah, bro, like Creed's fire. Like, I don't think we give like Creed enough of his flowers. And we're like kind of listening to a couple like lyrics on the phone there on Spotify on low. And then we're like, Higher by Creed. And we're like, yeah, bro, that song's great. And we're like, wait a minute. We got to play Creed at the wedding at one point and play Higher. And wedding's going on, after party, all that stuff. And then we got the DJ. And the guy kind of looks at us. He was in Colombia. I don't even know if he knows who Creed is. Yeah. He goes and he plays it. Bro, everybody comes off the dance floor and just like 8 guys in the middle of the dance floor fucking screaming at the top of it. Take me higher? Dude, it was one of the craziest moments. It was so awesome. And I'm like, that's why music is great. Because it's moments like that, like memories you'll forever have.
100%.
And if you can attach a song to a specific moment, like that's it.
That's literally why I do this. And I always say my biggest inspiration of doing music is I want my songs to be anthems in people's lives, just like I have anthems through my life. I have anthem songs in my life. So if I get to the point where some of my songs can be anthems, for people to deal with life, the joyful moments and the moments that are tough, the heartbreak moments. If my song can be anthems at any point in someone's life, that's what I want my legacy to be.
I think that's the way to kind of like think about it. I mean, that's awesome. But listen, appreciate you as always.
Thank you, man.
If you guys haven't, go check out the EP.
Yes.
Let them know where to find you. Let them know where to see it. And obviously, there's gonna be more music to come as always. So it's always a pleasure, and we love your music.
Yeah,
but
man, brother. Love you,
of course,
bro.
Absolutely.
Orlando J. Mendez Music on Instagram and TikTok. We got the Always Summer 6-pack coming out December 5th. It's going to be a movie, bro. We're going to try to promote the hell out of it. We're going to try to keep this ball rolling and keep the good times coming.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Always summer, right?
Always summer. Always summer up here.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this week. Make sure to always sip your cafecito, eat your croquetas, and we'll see you guys on the next one.